I had my ISO set at 1250, so you've got to check for your specific camera what the native ISO is depending on the file format you're videoing in. So if you're using any sort of log gamma curve, then there will be a specified minimum ISO for that to get the full dynamic range. Or if you're just shooting in MOV or what have you, baked in kind of like a JPEG would be in photos, it'll probably be something lower. So like on the XT5, I know it's 500 for just baked in footage, but on the XH1, the F log minimum ISO is 800. Now, I pushed it up to 1250 because I paired it with a 4.0 aperture and a slightly higher shutter speed. I'll explain why. My shutter speed is set to 1/100 of a second. Now, normally the rule of thumb is to make motion look pleasing. You take your frame rate, in my case 30 frames per second, and you multiply it by 2. And you set your shutter speed to at least 1 over that value. So it should have been at least 1/60, right? But if you put it on 1/60th and you look at some of the lights that are not as well constructed internally, I would say, plugged into mains, you'll get flicker. You may get flicker. There are two ways to combat that. On your camera, there's probably a flicker reduction of a flickerless shooting mode, which allows you to increment your shutter speed in tiny little jumps to match perfectly, or you can roughly work in multiples of the grid frequency, which is 50, 100, and so on. So I worked in 1/100th of a second to counteract the flicker. And lastly, the depth of field. Right, I used an f for depth of field. I was shooting on a 30mm lens, so it's 45mm 4-frame equivalent. And I'm probably sitting about meter and a half, between 1.5 meters and 2 meters away from the camera. So I obviously wanted from the tip of my nose right through to at least the back of my head in focus, but I'm animated when I speak, so I move back and forth a lot. For that reason, I set it slightly higher to 4.0. So I've got basically everything from my microphone right till the back here in focus. You can play with that if you want a shallow depth of field, doesn't matter. I have enough light in the room and I didn't mind pushing the ISO up a touch, so f4 worked fine for my use.